and Trachtenberg's prey felt like a lightning strike because of how sharp and precise it was. It pulled the Predator franchise out of the muck and into something grounded, lean, and brutal. So, when Predator Killer of Killers was announced, it sounded like the next logical step, an anthology-style deep dive into Predator history with Vikings, samurais, and the Second World War. Co-written with Micho Robert Rutare, the film jumps across 4 timelines, each tracking the Yautja as they zero in on legendary warriors. A Viking clan leader pushes forward on a blood debt. A ninja locked in a family war crosses blades with his brother, a rising samurai warlord. A young pilot in World War II is pulled into battle above the clouds, and through it all, different predators arrive with their own motivations, rules, and sense of purpose. These 3 predators use some awesome new weaponry, and in this video, we're going to explore all 10 of those weapons. But before we begin, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons. Those 2 small clicks from you will help us tremendously in bringing you more of these marvelous videos. Oh, and there's going to be heavy spoilers, so be aware of that. Now, let's begin. Power Punch Shield. The first story in Killer of Killers begins in the year 841 AD, where the Viking era Scandinavia, where a Norse Valkyrie named Ursa leads her clan and her young son Anders to attack the Krivich village and kill their leader Zoran, who had forced a young Ursa to kill her own father. They find Zoran and Anders kills him, but the whole thing was being watched by a veteran Yautja who we will call the Viking Predator. This guy didn't sport a lot of body armor or any weapons apart from a shield where his right hand was supposed to be. For how huge this predator was, the shield wasn't really proportional in size to its body. For instance, a human shield is supposed to cover your body from one end to another, but this resembled more of a punching glove than a shield, which is why we took to calling it the Power Punch Shield. In Killer of Killers, the Predator first uses the shield to send Anders flying using a blast of pure energy created by the shield itself. The powerful weapon also has a recharge mechanism, which uses a lever system to power it up. Once it's been powered up, it can be used to punch an enemy or simply in the air to create a blast of energy in the shape of a shield, and this wave of pure energy is so potent that it can pretty much send an adult human flying through a wooden structure, of course breaking the structure itself. Ursa was the one to bear the brunt of this attack, but when that happened, she fell into the freezing sea underneath, which reduced her body temperature, and the Predator was no longer able to see her because his vision depends on heat. Next thing we know, the Viking Predator used his Power Punch shield to strike in various directions around him to get Ursa, but he couldn't. Now, while he was doing this, Ursa noticed that his weapon created a kickback or backfire that was strong enough to push the Predator back several meters. She uses this disadvantage to her own ends when she uses an anchor to puncture the frozen surface of the sea on which they were standing, but more importantly, she entangles the Predator in the anchor's chains. Needless to say, he falls into the freezing waters and gets further entangled in the chain. Ursa powers the shield up, and when the Viking Predator strikes, the backfire from the powered-up weapon pushes him back, and his head is impaled by one of the pointy ends of the anchor, thereby ending his hunt. We were thrilled to see just how novel this weapon was. I mean, we've never really seen something of this sort, and it proves that the Predator franchise isn't going to rely on the usual tropes. It's going to explore new weapons, stories, themes, and ideas. And the next Predator on this list uses a plethora of ultra-violent but uber-cool weaponry. The Hooked Chain. The second Predator in this anthology visits Earth during the feudal era of Japan, where Kiyoshi and Kenji, 2 sons of a Japanese warlord, are fighting. In 1609, Kenji refused to fight his brother for the right to be their dad's successor, but Kiyoshi attacked Kenji and left a scar on his cheek with his sword. It was 1629 now, and Kenji had come to take his revenge, not to kill Kiyoshi, but to leave a scar. However, a railing gives way, and Kiyoshi seemingly dies, which the Predator witnesses. And of course, he attacks Kenji. The first weapon the feudal Predator uses, and yeah, that's what we're going to call this guy, is a kusarigama-like chain weapon with a hook on the end, which of course impales its target, in addition to opening up on 3 sides to do extra damage. The Predator wears this weapon in the form of a wrist gauntlet. The chain itself is extremely tensile and highly maneuverable, meaning the Predator has complete control over it. That's obvious because a Predator wouldn't use a weapon it can't control, and that said, it's often these weapons falling into the hands of their opponents that causes their death. Now, the links in the chain are also a weapon in their own right because they're razor sharp, so much so that they can decapitate a human's neck in one sweep. But this isn't even the best part. The other weapon that the feudal Predator uses will blow your mind, and it's something we've seen earlier in movies, but none were as awesome and deadly as this one. The TeSpear. When Kiyoshi's guards enter the room, they expect Kenji, but instead come face to face with the Predator, who kills some of them with his chain and one of them with his spear. Now, you must be wondering why we took to calling this the TeSpear, and well, after impaling one of the guards with the spear, he twists the other end with his hand, and the thing simply opens up at the pointy end to form the alphabet letter T. So the tip is actually made of 3 parts, the middle one remains fixed, while the other 2 sides can open up to deal extra damage and slice heads, torsos, or anything else in their vicinity. These extendable blades also provide a larger area of damage than a regular spear, which can only hurt a single point. In fact, later in the story, Kenji ends up near a pond where he also finds Kiyoshi, who had survived his fall, but the Predator shows up as well. A fight begins, and Kiyoshi was almost going to meet his end because of the retractable blades of the spear, but Kenji, who had already seen how the weapon works, saves Kiyoshi. Next up, we have the Predator version of sticky grenades. Flying shuriken grenades. We like to think of these as a smaller version of the smart disc that predators normally use, or even a smaller version of the shuriken-like weapons that the fugitive predator once used, because despite their smaller size, these weapons pack a punch in the form of an explosive that can easily kill a human if it gets lodged into one. In fact, these are also comparable to the laser discs that the feral predator uses in Prey. These bombs don't explode on impact and have a timer of about 2 to 3 seconds, which gets activated once the grenades make impact. Secondly, the grenades have pretty good cutting power, which can injure a human to a great extent. Apart from this, the speed at which these things fly is pretty good, and you can't really escape them. The Predator stores multiple of these shuriken grenades in his wrist gauntlet and uses them when and as he sees fit. However, as we were saying earlier, Predator weapons in the hands of others spells doom for the Predators. Kenji managed to get a hold of one of these and stuck it in the hook of the chain that the Predator attacked him with. When the chain was shortened to be stored in its hub on the wrist, the grenade exploded, sending the Predator flying and striking against a tree. The impact was such that the tree got smeared with the Predator's green blood. The Twin Blades. The final weapon in the feudal Predator's arsenal are the twin blades attached to its hand. These guys are almost the same length as a longsword and do just about the same kind of damage. Sharp on both edges like a double-edged sword, the twin blades can easily impale through just about anything. The Predator uses them to strike Kiyoshi the first time they meet, although the Predator's target was actually Kenji. Next up, we have the weapons belonging to the cybernetic Predator from the 3rd story. Heat-Seeking Grappling Harpoons. Another new invention debuted in Killer of Killers, these heat-seeking grappling harpoons are especially designed to take down enemy aircraft. We see this one during the Second World War period, more specifically in the year 1942, when American car mechanic Torres is drafted as a U.S. Navy fighter pilot. Over the Atlantic, the cybernetic Predator destroys an entire squad, and hearing this, the commander of the fleet, Vandy, takes another squadron to look into the same, but the Predator and his ship destroy each of the U.S. Navy planes, save for Vandy and Torres, who went into the air with a rundown plane. But before that, he had discovered the harpoon found in the wreckage of the downed fighter jets. Upon investigating this exotic weapon, he activated it, and when his friend turned on the engine of a plane, the harpoon detected the heat and went straight for it. The other end of the harpoon then launched straight into the air along with a part of the plane. Throughout the story, the Predator downed several of these planes using this same weapon, which we have taken to calling the Heat-Seeking Grappling Harpoon, unless maybe, you wanted to suggest a cool nickname for it or something. Let us know down in the comments because we need something more catchy to call this thing. Wirenet Orb. Another somewhat similar weapon that the cybernetic Predator from Killer of Killers uses is the Wirenet Orb. It's a weapon in the shape of an orb which houses a super strong wire net. The orb is also heat-seeking, and therefore it's been designed to destroy aircrafts. We also saw it in Prey, but the one from Killer of Killers is pretty huge, so much so that it ensnared an entire fighter jet. Much like the one from Prey, this wire net is made out of extremely durable and sharp material, which tightens over time and cuts through the plane, dismembering the pilot. Similar weapons like the net gun were used in other Predator movies. Smart Disc with Heated Ropes. This one's kind of self-explanatory. The weapon works like a smart disc, but it comes packed with superheated or supercharged rope-like things. If these ropes are made of pure energy, we're not sure, but they did the exact same thing as the Wirenet Orb did. Regardless, at the end of Killer of Killers, we learn that all three predator killers, that is, Ursa, Kenji, and Torres, have been taken to a planet where thousands upon thousands of predators live. They end up in a Colosseum-like place. Here, the Grendel King Predator, the leader of all predators on this planet, tells the three fighters that they're supposed to fight each other to the death, and the last one standing would face the Grendel King Predator. Each of them is given a weapon from their age. Ursa gets a battle axe, Kenji gets a sword, and Torres gets a pistol. Yep, the same pistol we're about to talk about, and you might even recognize it. The Pistol of Raphael Adalini. The Pistol of Raphael Adalini has become something of a legend in the Predator franchise, much like the Valyrian steel dagger from Game of Thrones. It first appeared in the second Predator movie when the Predator elder Greyback gave it to Detective Mike Harrigan. Then there was a whole Dark Horse comic which told the story of Raphael Adalini and how Greyback got the pistol in the first place. However, then came Prey, which changed the history a bit. Raphael was no longer an honorable pirate, but a translator for the brutish French fur trappers from Prey. Now that the pistol has appeared in Killer of Killers, it only means that the previous Predator movies are all tied together, forming a well-connected universe instead of being standalone films. Explosive neckbands. The final weapon that the Predators use in Killer of Killers are the explosive neckbands, which can be used to blow the head off of its wearer. These are controlled by the control panel of a Predator's wrist gauntlet. But apart from being a weapon, they also serve as a translator because whatever the Grendel Predator said, the neckbands translated to Ursa, Kenji, and Torres in Norse, Japanese, and English respectively. Unfortunately, that's all we got for you guys in this one, but we'll see you in the next Predator video. Until then, stay safe and stay marvelous.